In the first half of the 20th century, the sheer size of the United States was a criminal's greatest asset. A 3,000-mile expanse of disconnected jurisdictions meant that once a fugitive crossed a state line, they could effectively vanish into the American landscape. The Federal Bureau of Investigation was capped by a harsh physical reality. They had a finite number of field agents, and they relied entirely on localized point-to-point communication networks. Organized crime syndicates and highly mobile bank robbers explicitly exploited these geographic blind spots. They learned they could commit a crime in one state and drop completely off the radar simply by driving overnight into another. By 1950, the Bureau realized they could never hire enough agents to cover every county in the country. They needed a massive force multiplier. Their solution was the 10 Most Wanted Fugitives list. The strategy was straightforward. The fastest way to track down a criminal was to mobilize millions of ordinary citizens to do the looking for you. The Most Wanted program operated as a calculated public relations pipeline. The Bureau would select specific targets, saturate the media with their descriptions, and then process the resulting wave of public tips to secure a capture. In its first iteration during the 1950s, the FBI relied on the physical reach of print. They pushed fugitive profiles into daily newspapers and hung paper wanted posters in local communities. The criminals targeted during this early period were predominantly old-school mobsters and career bank robbers. Because the system relied entirely on print media, success depended on public identification. The Bureau focused on criminals with distinct facial features, visible scars, or memorable physical traits that would stand out in black and white ink. Thousands of local post offices served as the physical distribution hubs for these profiles, guaranteeing that almost every American adult would eventually make eye contact with a federal fugitive. Within a few years, citizen tips led directly to dozens of arrests. The Bureau proved that ordinary civilians could serve as a sprawling, nationwide intelligence network. The system evolved rapidly with the adoption of broadcast television news. The FBI transitioned from hanging static paper posters to beaming high-contrast mugshots across the country in an instant. Television collapsed the distribution timeline. A manhunt that previously took weeks to circulate via the mail could now reach millions of households in a single evening broadcast. As the medium changed, so did the targets. The list expanded to feature serial killers, gang leaders, and fugitives whose crimes provoked immediate, visceral reactions. Broadcasting these threats directly into the home dissolved the distance between the criminal and the citizen. The list was no longer a far-off government document. It was a face staring back at you from across the dinner table. This widespread exposure turned passive entertainment viewers into active participants in federal law enforcement. As the decades passed, crime evolved from crossing state lines to crossing international borders. To keep pace with a globally interconnected world, the Bureau digitized the list, placing its database directly online. Tracking these borderless threats required a global network of informants to monitor digital and international activities. This 1999 wanted poster for Osama bin Laden frames his physical description, representing a new kind of international fugitive. Looking at the bottom sections, the Bureau incentivized the global public with a $25 million bounty, citing international embassy bombings. By pushing these bounties online, the Bureau expanded its reach. The list evolved from a tool designed to protect local American communities into a system monitoring global vulnerabilities. The law enforcement landscape of the 1950s, where agents were isolated by distance and limited communications, has been replaced by a hyper-connected, data-driven intelligence apparatus. Yet, despite satellites, facial recognition, and instantaneous global data sharing, the core machinery of the Most Wanted program, the media-to-public feedback loop, remains untouched. The strategy relies entirely on the lesson learned over 70 years ago. The most effective asset in tracking a fugitive is the focused, collective attention of the masses. The 10 Most Wanted list did more than catch fugitives.